Hi, I'm Suzanne, and I'm going to talk about plank pose next. So before you start working with plank, make sure that you've warmed up your shoulders, a little bit of work with the spine, maybe do some cat-cows or shoulder rolls, something just to warm up your joints a little bit before getting started. I've got my mat placed next to a wall, because I'm going to use the wall as a prop in this demonstration for you. So to start with, first of all, I'm going to come to hands and knees. And I'm going to find a neutral tabletop position. So I've got my joints stacked, shoulders over wrists, knees underneath hips, creating right angles in my body, my knees and feet in the same line. And to start with, I want to make sure that I'm not kind of just dumping down my chest down toward the floor and I'm not dropping my belly. I want to lift my chest up away from the floor, broadening my upper back. So it's kind of like when we do cow pose or cat pose, when we really round the upper back. You want to create that kind of broadness, but then firm your shoulder blades on your back, lengthening your sternum forward. I'm going to lengthen right through the crown of my head, imagining that my crown of my head is part of my spine, so my neck is nice and long. So my sternum is lengthening, my shoulders are broad, my neck is lengthening through the crown of my head. I'm looking straight down between my hands. And then in my low belly, I'm going to lift my belly in, lifting my hip bones up towards my low ribs, which will lengthen my low back. Okay, so my low back is stable, my chest is lifting away from the floor. And you could really almost consider this as a plank pose without the legs yet, not using the legs yet. But it's the same stability. My fingers are spread, I'm rooting down through the knuckles. Keeping my chest broad, my upper arm bones drawing back. I'm going to take a couple breaths here, just feeling the energy and the work through the arms and the energy and the lift up away from the floor. Take a couple breaths and then release in child's pose. Knees a little bit wide, big toes together. You can bring your arms back behind you, forehead to the floor. You can also stack your hands underneath your head if your head doesn't quite make it down to the floor. Rest your shoulders, your wrists, your belly. After a few breaths, slide your hands under your shoulders, tuck your chin, and press yourself back up. We're going to come back to all fours, and I'm just going to measure this one out. I'm going to walk my leg back. Find a straight leg position with that leg, and then I'm going to bring my other knee right underneath my hip. I'll bring that leg back just to measure it out. Bring my shoulder over my wrist, same thing. Spread my fingers, press down through the knuckles, energize my arms. I'm going to broaden my upper back, drawing my upper arms back a little bit, pushing down into the floor and lengthening my sternum. Draw straight out through the crown of my head. Lift my hip bones up towards my low ribs. That'll lengthen my low back, as I mentioned a moment ago. Lift my belly in. From there, I'm going to take one leg back, and I'm going to push it into the wall. I'm going to curl all 5 toes underneath, pressing the mound of the foot, the mounds of the toes into the wall, and the heel into the wall. I'm going to get that leg as straight as I can, pushing out through the heel. Now I'm going to try not to dump that hip down, but to feel that leg lifting up away from the floor, keeping my hips squaring down toward the mat. Stabilizing my weight in my arms, not shifting my weight to the right or the left. I'm even, I'm still got this plumb line right in the middle. Firm my thigh by pressing it up toward the ceiling, but as I do that, my tailbone might want to lift up. So I'm going to lengthen my tailbone toward the wall, toward the heel. Lifting my hip bones up. I'll do that on both sides. So you'll stretch the opposite leg back, curl the toes under, push the heel into the wall, firm the mounds of the toes down into the floor. Make sure you're not shifting your weight to the right or the left, but you're right in the center. Good. After a couple breaths from there, rest in child's pose again. Relax your wrists, bring your forehead down. Breathe into your back. Breathe into your shoulders. Maybe rotate your wrists a couple of times. And then put your hands under your shoulders, press yourself up. Again, all fours. Try to measure it out and get right back where you were a moment ago. Curl your toes under, push out through the heel, find that half plank position. Hips level, weight evenly distributed. And then I'm going to take my left leg out. So both legs are straight, my shoulders are right over my wrists. I'm pressing both thighs up while moving my tailbone back. Drawing my sternum forward while I keep my upper back nice and broad. Crown of the head lengthening. Spread the weight out on your fingers as much as you can so you're not taking this all in your wrists. Your arms are getting a nice strong workout. Your shoulders are building some strength. Your core, your abdominals are lifting away from the floor. They're working, so you're building support around the midsection of your body. Your legs are strongly pressing back through the heels, so they're getting nice and strong too. To come out of this, a couple different ways. First way I'm going to demonstrate is to move into downward facing dog. So I'm going to shift my weight back, my hips toward the wall. I'm going to bend my knees and keep my heels up on the wall. I'm going to press my hips back, root down into my hands, and just try to lengthen the spine as much as I can. This shifts the angle of what's happening in my wrists, so my wrists are getting a little bit of a break by moving into down dog. From there, I'm going to come back into plank. I'm going to put the shoulders right over the wrists for my legs. Feel that buoyancy. Lift up into my upper back. Lengthen. Take an inhale. And exhale. Push my hips back toward the wall. Bend my knees. Create a nice long line through the arms and the hips. Last time, I'm going to come forward into plank. I'm going to hold my plank. And then I'm going to lower just my knees down. Right straight down. So now I've got an angle from my shoulders to my hips down to the back of my knees. It's a nice one long line. I'm going to keep my belly lifting in and lengthen my chest forward. I'm going to transition onto the floor. I want to roll my shoulders back, hug my elbows in, and come all the way down. Now I'm going to show you that one more time. Because what I don't want you to do, I don't want you to dump your hips down. I want to keep your belly lifting up. Keep drawing your hip bones up. Keep your chest forward. Keep the shoulders rolling back as you lower down. And then once you're down, my feet are touching the wall, but I want to walk my legs back, press the tops of the feet down. From here you can move into cobra or other practices on the floor. To come back up to plank pose, you're going to have you tuck your toes and press your knees down into the floor. I'm going to lift my belly into my spine, and I'm going to keep my shoulders rolled back. I'm going to push into my hands, root down right through the index finger and thumb mound, push up to half plank, and then I'm going to lift my knees up to full plank, move my tailbone back, broaden my upper back, and exhale to downward facing dog. Good. Smooth breath in, smooth breath out. Relax your face. Bring your knees down. You can either take child's pose or come to sitting. So, a couple of things in addition to the benefits it provides. Plank is a good practice for finding the ability to work strongly and maintain that sense of calmness and ease. You might shake, you might struggle with the pose. If so, bring the knees down. You can hold plank in a half plank position with the knees down. You can build up the strength over time. It's not a big deal. Until you've got the core support to lift yourself from the floor without bending the knees, without losing your core, take the knees down to the floor. Okay? Push up and down through the knees until you've got the core support. Once you've got core support, you can tuck your toes, lift your belly in, move your tailbone back. I'm spreading my fingers, rooting down through the knuckles, and I could lift my legs up. My legs are strongly working, just like they do in full plank. And then I'll push myself up to that push-up position. Good, holding plank, and then either moving into downward facing dog or child's pose. Lots of different options. Work at the level that's appropriate for you. Build up strength, let go of any judgment. It's a practice, it's not perfection, okay? All right, namaste, thank you.